Hello, chismosas y chismosos, and welcome back to Bay Area Housewife of True Crime. We are at part 5 on my series of the Hans Reiser case. As a reminder, topics may be triggering. Viewer and listener discretion is very strongly advised. The people mentioned are innocent until proven guilty in court. In September of 2002, a new school year at Grand Lake Montessori commenced, and a teacher reported Rory started exhibiting learned behavior. Rory started echoing his father, saying derogatory and sexist remarks against women, saying they were all bad and did not deserve to have the same rights as men. On September 20th of 2004, Nina and Hans were awarded joint legal and physical custody of their children. Hans was ordered to pay $5,400 a month in child support. In October of 2004, Nina moved into a 1,200 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom home on 49th Street, and she began working part-time at a biotech research firm called Franklin Research in Emeryville. She also began working part-time at a second job doing bookkeeping for Manzanita Restaurant in Oakland. On November 29, 2004, an employee at Kids Turn, a co-parenting workshop, filed a report with CPS for suspected child abuse. The employee reported that Hans stated deadpan that he disciplined his children using old-fashioned punishment. Rory made comments about how his father would pull and hit him and his little sister. The report also included that Nayo suffered chronic stomach aches. OPD officer Jack Peterson looked into the allegation, but no charges were filed for this incident. On December 22nd of 2004, OPD was called to Nina's home because Hans had become enraged when he saw gifts inside her house that he presumed were from her boyfriend. Officer Mike Encitas reported and responded to the scene, and although his report of the incident mentioned that Hans shoved Nina with his right hand, causing her to fall to the floor and injure her elbow, Hans was not arrested. Nina filed for a temporary restraining order the very next day, and even though the restraining order was granted and in place, Hans stood outside her home like a creeper on Christmas Day and took pictures of Sean exiting her house and driving off in his Subaru. Nina called the police and advised that he was standing less than 200 feet away from her. OPD officer Robert Forrester wrote that resource info was provided. Nina called OPD again the next day when Hans failed to return the kids. After Officer Frank Gisson contacted Hans, he returned Rory and Nayo within 30 minutes. In retaliation, Hans filed his own report alleging that Nina did not like the way he spoke to her, refused to release the children to her, and assaulted him. Hans described Nina as a, quote, small, formally pretty woman. On December 30th of 2004, Sean sued Hans and filed civil paperwork through the Alameda Superior Court for failing to repay him $84,000. On the same day, Hans hired divorce attorney Stuart McKenzie, whom he would hire and replace again and again. In April of 2005, he would hire John Fury, and by December of 2005, he had fired and hired Linda Cox and hired Greg Silva. In January of 2005, the time Hans was legally allowed to have the custody of the children shrunk to Wednesday evenings and every other weekend. Judge Tiger ordered one of the tech companies Hans was working for to withhold $5,400 a month of his income for child support purposes. In a January 2005 court filing, a very disgruntled Hans wrote as follows, and I quote, "Male geeks such as myself are one of America's most hated cultural minorities. Unlike racial hatred, it is considered socially acceptable to indulge in such hatred," end quote. Also, that January, Hans' dad Ramon called CPS and reported that Nina was dating Sean, who was into BDSM and hooked on pain pills. The allegation was not investigated. In February of 2005, Hans stopped making child support payments. In February of 2005, Dr. Robert Westman, an ear, nose, and throat or ENT doctor, recommended Rory undergo an adenoidectomy surgery to put tubes in his ears and remove his adenoids. The surgery was scheduled and rescheduled due to conflicts from Mr. Karen, Hans, and it was ultimately canceled, followed by a letter from Dr. Westman. The letter regretted informing them that the doctor was uncomfortable treating Rory. In a family court hearing in March of 2005, Hans considered it a victory when he was able to elicit explicit permission from the judge to allow Rory to watch Jimmy Neutron and Sesame Street. The judge also ordered the couple to communicate via email only with matters concerning the children. On February 23rd of 2004, Nina's application to become a naturalized U.S. citizen was approved, and in March of 2004, Nina asked Hans for a divorce. On the couple's 5th wedding anniversary, May 15th of 2004, they legally separated. And at the age of 40, Hans found himself paying his mom $600 a month in rent to live with her and her dog, D'Artagnan, at his childhood home on Exeter Drive. To the surprise of no one, those who knew the dynamic of their relationship described Hans treated his mother as if she was there to serve him. Many reported that he would yell at his mother and would use both of her cars, both of her Hondas, a CRX and a Civic Hybrid, as if they were his own. On May 30th of 2004, Oakland police responded to a domestic violence incident between Hans and Nina. The police report noted, and I quote, "Husband Reiser was asked to leave, which he complied," end quote. Nina hired family law attorney Shelley Gordon, and on August 2nd of 2004, they filed a divorce petition through the Alameda County Superior Court in Oakland. According to the public court records, the children hardly knew their father because he was gone for months at a time. Rory had been drawing pictures of monsters and soldiers, saying that it was a secret with his dad. Rory had been having medical and behavioral issues since he was very young. His symptoms included high anxiety, problems eating, problems sleeping, nightmares, social withdrawal, and extreme aversion to changes in his routine or switching from one activity to the other. When Rory was 18 months old, Nina consulted a neuropsychologist in Russia who told Nina that he was probably autistic. Between 2000 and 2002, his symptoms at home began to improve but came back with a vengeance after Hans came back from Russia in March of 2004. Rory was taken to the Children's Hospital in Oakland, where he was referred to a psychologist.